Okay, let's jump right in. Picture this. You walk out into your backyard, coffee in hand, and you spot a crack in the wall separating your yard from the neighborhood park. No biggie, right? Your homeowners association handles the parks. But then, a few months go by and a letter shows up in your mailbox. It's a lawsuit from your own HOA, and they're demanding you pay for half the repairs. I mean, that universal dread of getting a surprise bill from an HOA, that is exactly what happened in this wild legal case, decided by the Arizona Court of Appeals in January 2026. In today's Explainer, we're unpacking the case of Sundance Adult Village Homeowners Association versus Elliott. We're going to see exactly how one crumbling wall sparked a massive legal showdown over community rules, hidden clauses, and some serious architectural overreach. So this whole dispute actually kicks off back in 2021. That's when some water damage was found on a wall inside the Sundance Adult Village out in Buckeye, Arizona. Fast forward a bit to 2022, and the HOA takes a really aggressive approach. They actually file a legal complaint demanding that the owners of 8 specific lots bordering this damaged wall step up and pay 50% of the repair and replacement costs. The HOA is pointing the finger squarely at the residents, basically saying, hey, you've got to share this burden. The residents? Well, they push back hard. They're arguing that the HOA owes 100% of the bill. So the core conflict is set. Who is actually legally responsible for a broken wall in an HOA? To figure that out, we have to look at how this specific community is drawn up on paper. Now, according to the community rules, the declaration, the neighborhood is split into very distinct zones. On one side, you have what Section 1.28 calls living units. These are just your standard single-family detached houses, the actual homes. And Section 5.03 says these living units have to be maintained strictly by the lot owner. Makes sense. On the flip side, you have the active adult common area. This covers all the common area tracts owned for everyone to use, and Section 5.01 makes it explicitly clear here. The HOA is responsible for maintaining, repairing, and replacing the active adult common area. Sounds incredibly straightforward, right? Owners pay for their yards, the HOA pays for the common spaces. But here is where the mystery gets a little tricky. The physical geography of this broken wall is exactly why this whole thing ended up in the Court of Appeals. You see, the wall doesn't sit neatly on one side of the boundary or the other. It physically straddles the exact property line, literally right down the middle, sitting partially on the HOA's common area and partially on the residents' private lots. Because it occupies both spaces, well, both sides thought they had a rock-solid argument. The HOA argued, hey, it's partially on your lot, so you owe half the money. But the residents argued it's a shared structure that primarily protects the common area. So when physical geography doesn't give you a clear-cut answer, where do you turn? You turn to the fine print. Part 1. Battle of the Documents. When we dig into the community records, things get messy fast. We find 2 completely conflicting sets of instructions. Over on the left, you've got the original community declaration. Section 5.01 clearly states the HOA pays for the common area. Simple. But over on the right, the HOA pulls out this document from 2012. It's an architectural guideline, specifically Guideline I/H/7. And this document says that any wall separating a lot and the common area has to be maintained and repaired by the lot owner, while the HOA just does the painting and minor upkeep on the side facing the common area. So the HOA brings this 2012 guideline to court and says, look, it's right here in writing, the cost is shared. But the homeowners weren't backing down. They pointed right back to the original declaration and essentially asked the court, what actually is a common area? The HOA tried to get highly technical, arguing that the wall is a physical structure, so they should only have to pay for the literal inches of concrete resting on their side of the dirt. Well, the Arizona Court of Appeals wasn't having any of it. They just looked at the plain English in Section 1.17. It clearly defines the common area as including all structures located on the common area tracts. Because this wall literally touches and sits directly on the common area tract, it legally qualifies as a common area structure, period. So under the main rules, it's the HOA's job to fix it. Part 2. The hierarchy of HOA law. So how exactly does a court decide who wins when an HOA's own rulebooks completely contradict each other? Well, this right here is the smoking gun of the entire case. Buried deep down in Section 11.16 of the community's own rules is what's called a supremacy clause. It literally says, and I quote, if there are any discrepancies, inconsistencies, or conflicts between the provisions of this declaration and the other active adult project documents, the provisions of this declaration will prevail in all instances. That means the original declaration sits at the absolute top of the legal food chain. You can't just write some lower-level guideline that contradicts the master document. The master document wins every single time. Part 3.
the committee's overreach.
So that begs the question, if the original declaration rules supreme, how did that conflicting shared cost guideline even get created in the first place? Well, to understand the overreach here, you have to understand just how incredibly hard it is to legally change HOA rules. Per Section 11.07 of their declaration, if you want to change financial burdens, like, suddenly making residents pay for half a wall, you have to follow a very strict legal timeline. Step 1, you propose an amendment. Step 2, you call a formal, duly noticed meeting. And Step 3, you have to secure a massive 75% affirmative vote from the entire community. I mean, think about it. It is almost impossible to get 75% of a neighborhood to agree on anything, let alone volunteering to take on brand new financial liabilities. Which brings us to what actually went down in 2012. Spoiler alert, the HOA did not hold a vote. They didn't call a special meeting to amend the financial responsibilities. Nope. Instead, the neighborhood's architectural committee decided to just bypass the entire community. They sat down and simply wrote a new guideline, quietly amending the rulebook to say homeowners now had to share the cost of the walls. They essentially tried to create a new financial burden through a backdoor loophole using a basic architectural design manual. No way, right? Yeah, the Arizona Court of Appeals completely dismantled that strategy. The HOA tried to argue, well, the architectural committee has the power to adopt, amend, and repeal rules. But the court took one look at Section 703, which defines the true scope of the committee's powers, and said, not exactly. Their authority is strictly limited to aesthetics. We're talking architectural style, the shape of a house, fence height, building materials, and exterior paint colors. The court was very firm here. Just because you have the power to choose the surface texture of a wall, that doesn't give you the expansive authority to impose brand new financial obligations on homeowners, obligations that never existed in the original contract. Simply put, they can tell you what color to paint the wall, sure, but they cannot legally bypass a 75% community vote to make you pay to fix an HOA structure. Part 4, the final verdict. So after years of arguing over property boundaries, guideline loopholes, and committee powers, the resolution was a massive, resounding victory for the homeowners. The court affirmed that because the wall physically touches the common area, it is, without a doubt, a common area structure. And because the architectural committee drastically overstepped its legal bounds back in 2012, that guideline shifting the cost was completely invalid. Since the original declaration prevails in all instances, the Sundance Adult Village Homeowners Association is legally responsible for 100% of the wall's repair costs. The residents, they don't owe a single dime for the construction. But wait, there is a final mic drop in this legal battle. Not only did the HOA lose the argument over the wall itself, but Section 1119 of their own declaration forces the losing party in an enforcement action to cover the winner's legal bills. Yep. The Court of Appeals ordered that the HOA must pay the residents' attorney fees and court costs for the entire appeal process. Talk about a backfire. By trying to force 8 homeowners to pay for half a wall through an invalid committee rule, the HOA ended up paying for the whole shebang, plus a mountain of legal fees. And this brings us to the absolute most important takeaway for anyone living in a planned community. Do you actually know what's buried in your HOA's governing documents? The residents of Sundance Adult Village won this case for one reason. They understood the hierarchy of their covenants, conditions, and restrictions. They knew a committee couldn't just invent financial burdens out of thin air. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many neighborhood rules being enforced right now are actually just invalid guidelines that directly contradict the master deed? So the next time you get a surprise notice from your neighborhood board, are you just going to write the check? Or are you going to pull out your declaration and start reading the fine print?